Hi, my name is Jan Fairchild. I'm one of the two founding and principal members of the Skintight Revue, the other being my illustrious collaborator and great friend, Charlie Midnight.
Hi, I'm Charlie Midnight, and I'm here to tell you about the new album from the Skintight Revue. The album is called The Lovin Traveling Show, and it was performed, written, and recorded by myself and Jan Fairchild with a little help from our really good friends.
Welcome to the Lovin Traveling Show. Let us take you where you want to go. Some like the high life and some like the low. Welcome to the ever-loving Traveling Show.
I went to a high school called Lafayette, which no longer exists. They closed it down because it became too violent. I quit Brooklyn College after 3 semesters and left for England with a rock and roll band.
In my early teen years, I started playing organ with various bands throughout the New York tri-state area, which is where I was from. Some of my former bandmates include Earl Slick, who played with David Bowie and John Lennon, Richie Zito, who played with Elton John, and a then unknown young aspiring rock singer, Michael Beloit. Michael and I were friends and worked together for over 20 years, and it all culminated with Michael becoming one of the biggest pop stars in the late 80s to mid-90s.
I came home months later and started singing in cover bands in Brooklyn, doing 6 sets a night, 40 on, 20 off. The upside was we got paid most of the time. The downside was everything else. Eventually, I moved to Manhattan and started putting together bands to do original material. One of the places we rehearsed was in a building called the Music Building, which still exists on 8th Avenue. And one of my neighbors was Madonna. So one night at a gig at a popular club called Max's Kansas City, an attorney I knew brought a record company executive down to see the band. And after 10 years of paying my dues, wondering if it was ever going to happen, I was signed to a label on Columbia. The album was wildly unsuccessful. There was no second record. But a woman from my label had sent that album to Dan Hartman to possibly produce the next album, which never happened. He called me and said he loved my lyrics and would I like to meet and possibly do some co-writing. We met, started writing together, and had some success. After a few years, Dan convinced me to take a gig as a record producer that he was too busy to take on. My next gig was producing the Joe Cocker album, Unchain My Heart, which was successful.
My love for playing organ started when my dad would play me albums by the great jazz organist Jimmy Smith. They were amazing. I would sit there and I'd be mesmerized by his playing. Sometimes I would slow the speed of the LP down to 16 so I could pick out some of the notes he was playing because he played so fast.
I've been fortunate to produce and or write for many well-known artists like James Brown, Joni Mitchell, Joe Cocker, Cher, Billy Joel, Barbra Streisand, the Doobie Brothers, to name a few. Working in the studio with Joe Cocker was special. When he sang, it was like you had front row seats to a Joe Cocker concert. A great performance every time. And being in the studio with James Brown for the whole Gravity album was surreal. While we recorded Living in America, I wrote out the lyrics on big sheets of paper and stood in the studio with him while he learned the lyrics. I thought to myself, if only the guys in the old neighborhood could see me now, I'd finally be cool.
Brother Charlie Midnight!
My musical journey began at age 7 when my dad, who was a very successful musician and music producer of Hot Butter Popcorn fame, handed me an accordion and started teaching me to play. Some of my biggest musical influences were the Beatles, Buddy Miles, Mike Bloomfield, and the Electric Flag, Chicago. From there, it was Felix Cavalier of the Rascals and Stevie Winwood from the Spencer Davis Group and Traffic, who inspired me to really play organ. I get asked a lot about who are some of my favorite people I've worked with. As far as artists go, I would say Mos Def, also known as Yassine Bey, Mary J. Blige, Al Jarreau, Al Green, Stevie Wonder, and Pharrell Williams. I've been very fortunate and blessed to work with so many great, great artists.
I started writing songs in the 6th grade, inspired by all the songs I had heard on the radio. I had a Webcore tape recorder and would sing into it. No instrument, just melody and vocal. I played some for my friends and had no idea where to go from there. My songwriting resumed when I started singing in bands. You could say I've been writing songs almost my whole life. And now, thanks to John Kaufman and Right Records, I'm here with my partner, Jan Fairchild, happy to be talking about the album, The Ever-Loving Traveling Show. My songwriting process is different in different situations. With Jan for Skintight Revue, he might have a track and I'll listen, get inspired, and let it flow. I'll come up with some lyrics, possibly some melody, send it to him, and he'll create the exact music it needs. Sometimes I'll go over to his studio, he'll play a track for me, and I'll start singing lyrics and a melody and not change a word. It's a connection we have.
The Ever-Loving Traveling Show is a project that evolved over the last few years. Originally, it was Charlie and I working on songs, writing songs, producing songs that we liked, that we enjoyed, that inspired us, with no thought of really a commercial release. Little by little, though, we started realizing we might have something.
The album, The Ever-Loving Traveling Show, evolved out of songs we'd written that we gave to other artists to sing and ones that I sang. We wanted to convey the feeling of being on the road, sharing the music, and experiencing it with friends. A celebration, I think, best defined by Jubilation Jam, sung by the amazing Jessica Childress.
This one's just an all-out, raucous, fun track. Jessica Childress just kills the lead vocal on it, and my good friend Chad Hugo plays sax on it. It was just a good time, great time for everybody involved.
And Nothing But Good News, which I sing. Everybody Needs It, sung by that German force of nature, Marco Slade. And my duet with Buck Johnson on Skintight, and Going My Own Way, which is pretty much defined by the title. I've been asked about the meaning of the lyrics I've written for the album, but I don't like to analyze the lyrics I write for myself. There is no premeditation. But after I finish them, I usually have some idea of where they are coming from, but I'm okay with anyone figuring it out for themselves and then even enlightening me. I never get it right. It feels like it's a celebration of those of us who never seem to get over the hump, whether it's love or success, but still feel joy in the journey. Living on the Hook was inspired by a place in Florida where a friend of mine goes that seems to be a refuge for people who want a certain kind of freedom and escape from whatever their lives might have been. I channeled that feeling and basically jammed out those lyrics to Jan's mystical and mysterious music.
This is a song, the lyrics that Charlie wrote are just amazing. And he actually did the vocal on this in one take. Believe it or not, one take. He just sang it, put it down, and boom, there it was.
That's a lie. You can walk on water if you're not afraid to die. Living on the hook. Living on the hook.
The first single is The Ever-Loving Traveling Show, which I sing with my favorite singer, Buck Johnson, the keyboardist and backing vocalist with Aerosmith and the Hollywood Vampires.
On this song, Charlie does a duet with Buck Johnson, very good friend of Charlie's. Buck's addition to the song was just great, took the song to another level. The music was inspired by Dr. John and the New Orleans sound, and I think you can hear that when you hear the track.
The song, with Jan's rollicking, New Orleans-inspired music, conveys that feeling of letting go, be free, be who you are, and join us on a non-judgmental, Mardi Gras spirited journey we call the Ever-Loving Traveling Show. Musically, the album is a soulful, bluesy, New Orleans-influenced collage of songs, sung by different artists, including myself, with stories about itinerant, hopeful, joyful travelers who never stop rolling along. Playing music guided by the Van Morrison credo, it's too late to stop now.
Welcome to the Ever-Loving Traveling Show.